Hello and welcome to a series of Madaxeman battle reports in video format from the recent if you're listening to this in October 2024, Kegworth Codgers 15mm ADLG event themed around Roman, that sort of era when the Romans were marching up and down the UK or Britain or whatever they used to call it back then, and building roads, and Kegworth being right on the M1, that seemed an appropriate theme. And these are actually, let's just say a little bit more about Kegworth. It was a midweek event. It was a pub conversation that had been joked about for a couple of years, and decided, myself and Paul decided to just give it a go. Found a hotel in a good location, very convenient for everybody, good for those from up north, good for those from down south, just by the motorway, fairly cheap as well, cheap and cheerful midweek, to run a competition and see how many retired people are actually in the ADLG gaming circuit, and it will be available on a Tuesday and Wednesday. And the number was a rather surprising 34, one of the better turnouts for almost any event of the year for the novelty factor. And to this Roman fest, I took a Parthian army, really essentially because I'd got these guys from Forged in Battle, which I painted up. I think I got them at Warfare last year, so I must have painted them up earlier this year. Cataphracts on camels, camelfracts, the most sort of ridiculous, obscure troop type. They only exist in two armies. They're a bit of a two-edged sword. They're obviously cataphracts, which is good. They're camels, which discomforts enemy cavalry, which is good. But they're also camels, which makes it very difficult for them to coordinate with your own cavalry. They sit next to them and they cause them disorder as well. And they're cataphracts, so they're slow and they're a bit unwieldy, and they're not allowed to be elite. And I think the received wisdom is, if you've got cataphracts, you're spending a lot of points on these very hard to kill troops. Make them elite so that they last as long as possible. These two in this particular army, 3 if you go up to a 300 point army, are not allowed to be elite. You can't have camels and elite, that's just too good. So the army was really based around putting these guys on table, seeing how they did, and chugging along. So let's have a look at the complete list here. So this is again a rather bizarre list, very much for me running the competition, having a novelty list that wouldn't be too complicated to use in a way. But if you're looking at 15, maybe you disagree. The other novelty piece here was ordinary included unreliable 2 light horse command second corps, which pretty obviously is going on a flank march every time. It's a gamble. In case they roll a 1 to start, they then need to roll a 6 followed by a 5 to come onto table. But otherwise, being entirely light horse, they're coming on a 5, they're coming on a 4 in subsequent turns, and it's enough that somebody has to do something about it. They can possibly steal baggage, which is important. 4 points worth of baggage in terms of army loss, when most armies are around about this 23, 24, 25 is quite a lot for a very low investment in points. 7 points missing, hardly anything in an army of this size. That leaves the 3 points of command in the Parthians, with 1 big command and 1 small one. A brilliant general. He's commanding nearly everything. The 2 camels, 3 cataphracts, 2 of them elite in there, a couple of horse archers, medium cavalry, light cavalry, just as outriders for them. And then my kind of novelty pieces in this, 2 javelin men, on the basis that there's going to be some terrain. I'm likely to face Romans. Their medium foot are going to be better than mine. They'll be auxilia, but these guys can run away from that. They can evade being javelin men. And then 3 Greek militia, thinking that there might be other Parthians around, other cataphracty type armies. Stick some very cheap spearmen in front of enemy cavalry, and possibly between my camelfracts and my normal cataphracts, and so that they don't butt up against each other and cause each other disorder. And they're cheap and they're kind of fun. Actually, that does give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different groups to move, which is clearly too many, but we'll see how that goes. And then a smaller command, 3 cataphracts again, elite with an included general. Competence quite good, but I've only got 3 points and I don't want to waste it on the flank marching guy. 3 cataphracts. It's a cataphract delivery system with a medium cavalry and a couple of light horse alongside it. So this is much smaller. It just goes in to really give me a block of 8 cataphracts to throw at anything and see how that goes. So let's have a look in this first battle. It looks like I think it's a Middle Imperial Roman. We've got the list coming up in a minute. Plenty of terrain down for the Romans. They've got plantations, they've got fields, they've got field on a hill. So they're standing there as a bit of a target for the cataphracts. I'm just trying to work out how I squeeze all my troops into this narrow defile without getting clobbered by the auxilia, which are no doubt going to be coming through this this plantation here pretty easily. I can't do a lot to stop them. My two javelin have decided to go up the hill, see if they can do anything to cause some trouble there. We can't see anybody ambushing, which means I'm protecting this side with a screen of cavalry throwing them in, and obviously the light horse are off table, hoping to come on as soon as we can. And here it is, it's Kevin's army. 6 heavy swordsman impact support. Support is really important against cataphracts. Stops the cataphracts getting furious charge. It really limits the amount of damage they do in the first turn if they win. A couple of the specialists, heavy swordsmen with two-handed weapons, clubmen, Palestinian clubmen, and then the artillery integrated. So this is going to sit and wait. That's that block of troops in the middle. Try and shoot as many bits off my my cataphracts before they go in, and then absorb the punishment. Small cavalry command, 2 heavy cavalry, decent quality as well. 4 light horse. That's quite good, but it's a congested table. And then a lot of auxiliaries in this other one. 3 auxiliaries, a couple of bowmen as well, some light infantry. But really, it's just saying, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough against 8 legionaries, 6 of which have got support. So there we go. We've got the javelinmen onto the hill, into the field straight away. That means there's not a lot these cavalry are going to be able to do against them. They're not going to be able to drive through. The rest of the army looks like it's trying to sort of squeeze in. There's a waterway on that flank, it would appear, so we know where the flank march is coming on the other side for sure. So this is anchored one flank of mine. There's the line of legionaries. What I've got here is I'm still working out how to use this army really. So I've got all 6 of the normal cataphracts here. Bit of a gap where there should really be spearmen who've not got up quick enough. The camel fracks driving down here, just trying to drive away these light horse, create an opportunity to go into the flank of the legions, maybe have a run at the baggage, maybe put some pressure on those cavalry as well. So this is just charging forwards, and we're just hoping that we can get into combat and over the top of them before anything too serious happens. And oh yeah, look, there's some baggage guard guys there. What are they up to? Yep, a few extra, clearly Essex auxiliaries have been detached to guard the ADLG camp. Lucky guys there with a job. They're not entirely useless. So here it is, no-brainer. Nothing really skirmishing in front. The cataphracts have picked up a couple of hits on the way in, but I've got a big old block of all 6 of them in solidly against the legions, and the camel fracks are pushing past with the light horse, providing some extra overlaps. Just driving these light horse back and out the way. But you can already see the problem there with the auxilia coming round, seeing what they're going to do. So what's happening here? Well, it looks like this legion has actually killed off one of the cataphracts straight away. Probably, yeah, that must have been the injured one. This one's taken another injury as well, but I've still got almost a block of 6, and at least I've got a gap here, 1 too wide, so it's a bit more time before the auxiliaries hit me in the flank. And I'm still trying to push forwards here with the cataphracts. So it's just a desperate struggle in which very, very few, if any, casualties on just the one, I think, casualty on the legions, which really does show the advantages of rear support. +1 if I win, they get a mitigating +1, and there's no furious charge. So over here you can see the auxilia have actually almost been a little bit caught out by the speed of my advance or the unsubtlety of it. They're sweeping around, thinking about the dregs, the outriders of my army, particularly the bowmen, possibly thinking about a run for the baggage, possibly thinking about coming back. My spearmen have just not got up in time, so that hole is going to be exploited by the legions there. And all of a sudden here comes the flank marches, come racing on. There's only a baggage guard camel, mediocre there, and that's an interesting matchup. Elite light horse general, extra light horse with bow, quite a lot of shooting there. Effectively elite at +1 against mediocre, and 2 for 1. The camel disruption is not great, so that's looking kind of good. And actually, yeah, he's worked it out, hasn't he? Really, yeah, it's not a good place. He was expecting to do very, very little, but now he's going to get shot up. He could be in a little of toilet trouble there with those sorts of odds, I think. So let's see what's happening here. So with the camels coming off the hill, with the auxilia pushing as well, the cavalry have retreated as much as they can, but we're still trying to chew up the end of this. That must be a red marker. That's kind of good. These guys are still fighting, but I'm just having to throw light horse in to block this guy forming up. And finally, these guys are coming up as well. So this is an interesting one. You know, we've got javelinmen, which are pretty poor against cavalry in the open, but standing next to a camel gives them an extra benefit, gives them an overlap, gives them a minus to the camel. So interesting conundrum for these guys over here for sure. Yeah, what this camel fract is sort of on its own. It's got to deal with this light horse, but it's my extra piece to start chewing up the real meat of the Roman army here. So still going on. We've got a couple of red markers, but we've lost another cataphract there. So this hole's starting to be bigger. And these guys around the flank, these are both yellow. So they're both on 2 hits. So I've got 1 hit left there, 1 hit left there, 3 there. That might be yellow as well, 1 there. The cataphracts have really washed up and have struggled against the legions. Really have done. They've taken quite a battering. We've driven off the light horse. We're ready to go into the flank, but it's last chance saloon really for the cataphracts before they do that. And here come the auxilia coming all the way back. One of them's dead. We've got this turning into the flank. That will follow up into this. This block is kind of done. They're flooding forward here in quite some numbers. And over here, we've got the archers racing out across the open field. Because I've got so little in reserve, everything's committed to that frontline attack. You've got these 2 light horse just being chased by archers in the open. And, you know, it'd be lovely to run down these light medium infantry, but I just don't have anything there to do so. I think my medium cavalryman's got busy somewhere else. There's nothing left. So it's actually, yeah, it's great news for the bowmen. This is their perfect territory. They can just drive forwards, shoot these light horse away, and aim for the broken dice camp, which is actually an old dice I had. I think it was the very first dice roll of a DBM game, saying how long goes. The dice rolled across the table, split into 3, so that inevitably ended up in baggage. So that was pretty much the way that was going to play out. So here we go. Finally, I'm throwing the reserves in, the mediocre spearmen into legions. The auxilia are still struggling a bit to find something to do. I've got a couple of cataphracts left. This guy's still be calm. There's just too much for this brilliant general to do to try and coordinate all this. But at least these guys are still going. The light cavalry's evaded. He's retreated. It's created some sort of disruption for these guys trying to turn and deal with my flank march coming on here. But possibly there's been a win actually. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a couple of the legions have actually gone down now. Finally, against the cataphracts, and there's a couple more in sort of a bit of trouble. So there's quite a lot going on, but I am having to desperately hold the line really here as the Romans kind of start to sweep forward and overwhelm me quite a lot. And that indeed is the end of that particular game.